there! I'm Jen, this is Remembered Reads, and this is going to be the Under the Influence of Booktube tag. I was tagged by Heidi from My Reading Life, and I will link to her video below. And this tag was created by Olive from A Book Olive, and I'll link to her original video below as well. The questions. Question number 1 is, what's a fantastic book you read off the recommendation of another booktuber? A fantastic book that I read off the recommendation of another booktuber was Frances Spufford's Golden Hill, which I saw both Jess from Garden Scriptorium and Mel from Mel's Booklet Adventure talk about in really glowing terms. And then I saw a couple of lukewarm reviews from Candace from Beacon Hill Books and Cheryl from CR Flames Fan. And the difference in their opinions was actually part of what made me think I absolutely have to read this. And I did end up really enjoying it. And it was just one of those things where sometimes if I see too many glowing reviews, I'm just not that impressed, but seeing some people who are more reserved about it really sold me on it. It was supremely entertaining, although I don't think it's for everyone. I think when I described it as delightfully manipulative, so that's not going to be everyone's thing. Question number 2 is, has Booktube opened your mind or changed your mind about any genres? And yes, I would say pre-Booktube I was very, I wouldn't even say snobby, I just wasn't interested in romance as a genre. Mara from Books Like Woe in particular has done some great digging down into subgenres and subtypes and the history of the style that I think really opened my eyes. Question number 3 is, how much time did you spend on YouTube before Booktube and how much time do you spend on it now? I'd probably spend similar amounts of time on YouTube. I used to use YouTube primarily, just to have music on in the background. So it's less that I watch more YouTube and more that it's changed what I look at. Question number 4 is, how many books did you read per month or per year before Booktube and how many do you read now? I believe this year I'm at about 140 books. I think last year I read around 200 and the year before just over 100. The year prior to that, which was the year before I started Booktube, I think I read 75. So it looks on paper like it's an increasing number, but I think that's not necessarily reliable. In general, the more free time I have, the less I read, which is an odd thing. There was a period in my life where I probably read 350 books a year, and that was the period in my life when I was in grad school part-time and had 3 part-time jobs and had a ridiculously long transit commute because I read on transit all the time. Whereas later on, when I had a shorter commute, especially when I lived in Calgary and had a walking commute. I was only about 5 kilometers from work, so I used to take the train in the morning and it was short and then walk home in the evening, and those years I probably was lucky if I read 30 books a year. And I think lately I've had kind of a lot going on in my life, so I've been doing a lot more reading. I'm kind of odd in the way that that works. So I can't really say how much Booktube has actually had the bigger impact there, because I'm not sure how much to blame on that. Question number 5. Has Booktube affected your book buying habits? And if so, are you pleased or displeased with this? Booktube affected my book buying habits in one major way, which was that prior to Booktube, I had never heard of Book Outlet, and Book Outlet's discount prices seduced me. And especially when I first joined Booktube, I kind of went overboard buying from Book Outlet, and I didn't need to. I've always been more of a library person, and I do buy books, but often it's because I read it from a book from the library, realized this is something I want to reread and want to own, and then I would buy it, whereas the whole Book Outlet thing had me buying, and it was just too easy. So I'm conflicted about that. I'm in my sister's childhood bedroom here, and these 2 shelves were mostly empty, although her old Star Trek novels are all here. But this stuff is mostly books that I bought on Book Outlet when I was here 2 years ago staying with my mother when she was having surgery, and I discovered that Book Outlet is actually just a couple of hours from there. So if you order, they come in almost no time at all. Whereas when I was in Houston, it sometimes would take a week and a half. Although I still bought too many books on Book Outlet in both, so that's not even really an excuse. I've mostly gotten that under control, but the first few months I really went overboard on that. Question number 6 is, has a review by a booktuber ever retroactively made you reconsider your stance on a book? I don't think it has, in particular. I can't think of any particular examples. where I reconsidered a stance. Although I do think there are some popular books that I have never been interested in that I've considered because of reviews, so I don't know if that counts. Of course, I can't think of any examples now that I've said that. Question number 7 is, are there any videos you've been inspired to make after seeing another booktuber's video? Yes, I started making, taking my sports camera out and making videos that weren't just me sitting in front of the camera after seeing the hiking videos on For the Love of Classics channel. She is someone who is very good at keeping her privacy online. She only appears from like the nose down, so she's not identifiable. But she does a lot of, in addition to her book content, she does hiking videos. And so even though I've taken my sports camera to make bookish videos, because I've gone to book festivals and bookstores and book shopping with it, I did get the idea to do that from her, so yes. Question number 8. What are some pressures you feel on your reading life because of your channel? I don't know that I feel pressure to read more or less, but I do feel like I should be thinking about what I'm reading a bit more so that I have something to say when I make videos. Actually, rather than a pressure, I think a problem that I've given myself from making videos is that sometimes I'll talk about a book before I finish it, and because talking about the book on a video has become almost a tradition for this book is over, and then I forget to finish the book because I feel like I've finished it because I've talked about it. So that's been kind of a funny thing. Question number 9 is, in what way, if any, do you feel the social element of the community has impacted your reading? Do you think differently about books since joining? Yes. One thing that for a long time, and it's kind of ridiculous to admit this, I've been on Goodreads since 2007, and I would say for about the first 5 years that I was on Goodreads, I wouldn't enter everything that I read. I only entered things that I felt were okay to admit to, which is a ridiculous way to think about it. And I think being connected on social media with other booktubers has let me see how many people are very open about books that maybe aren't necessarily the ones that you want to have deep discussions about. And so that's been a good change, I think, because it's easier to track that way. Question number 10 is, what influence do you hope your own channel will have on the booktube community and or aspiring booktubers? One of the comments that I get on a lot of my videos is people saying that they haven't heard of most of the books that I talk about. And so I hope that that encourages people to realize that there is no such thing as someone who doesn't talk about the kinds of books that you read. There is always somebody, you just haven't found them yet, because booktube is so huge. So I would hope that someone would watch my channel and maybe see books that they haven't heard of and realize that the books that they thought maybe they couldn't talk about because no one would care, there's probably someone who cares. So that would be my big takeaway. Alright, so the next thing is to tag, and I was a little slow getting to this, so I need to double check who has or hasn't done this. If you're watching this and you haven't done this tag and you want to do the tag, consider yourself tagged. That's it for now. Ciao.